Nobody knew the woman in seat 23C was military. Until the emergency forced her into the cockpit. Until air traffic control spoke her call sign over the radio. Until 4 F-22 Raptor pilots heard that name and instantly stood at attention in their cockpits, saluting at 45,000 feet. Before you watch complete story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The woman sitting in seat 23C saved 247 lives at 38,000 feet. Nobody on that plane knew she could even fly. The gate area at Denver International Airport buzzes with typical airport chaos. Business travelers tap on laptops. Families wrangle kids. Flight attendants check boarding passes at the counter. A woman in her late 30s stands in the boarding line. She wears faded jeans, a plain gray sweater, and white sneakers. Her dark hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail. Reading glasses perch on her nose as she scrolls through her phone. A small backpack hangs from one shoulder. This is Rebecca Chin. Though nobody at this airport knows it, her military call sign is Reaper. The gate agent scans her boarding pass without looking up. Seat 23C. Boarding Group 3. Have a nice flight. Rebecca nods and moves through the jet bridge. Just another passenger. Completely unremarkable. Inside the Boeing 777, passengers stuff bags into overhead bins. A flight attendant gestures toward the back of the plane. Middle seats are toward the rear, ma'am. Rebecca squeezes past the businessman blocking the aisle. He barely glances at her before returning to his phone call. She reaches row 23 and slides into the middle seat between a college student wearing headphones and a woman reading a romance novel. The college kid pulls out one earbud. Long flight to Tokyo, huh? 13 hours, Rebecca says with a small smile. You traveling for work? Just visiting family. The lie comes easily. She has told it 100 times. Cool. I'm studying abroad. First time in Japan. He puts the earbud back in, already losing interest. The woman with the book never looks up. A flight attendant moves down the aisle doing the standard safety check. She glances at Rebecca's seatbelt. All set here? Yes, thank you. The attendant moves on without a second thought. Why would she look twice? Middle seat passenger. Casual clothes. Nothing special. If she had checked the manifest more carefully, she might have noticed the small flag in the passenger database. A code that indicated military service. But thousands of veterans fly commercial every day. Nothing unusual about that. What the database did not show was the rest. The code did not mention the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Silver Star, the 3 Air Medals, the Presidential Unit Citation. It did not list the 47 combat missions over hostile territory, the 12 confirmed kills in air-to-air combat, the impossible rescue operation that saved an entire special operations team surrounded by enemy forces. It certainly did not mention that her call sign, Reaper, was spoken with reverence in every fighter squadron from Langley to Kadena. That junior pilots studied her tactics in flight school. That her gun camera footage was used in advanced combat training. Rebecca Chin had retired from the United States Air Force 8 months ago with the rank of lieutenant colonel. She had commanded the 94th Fighter Squadron, flying F-22 Raptors. She had 2,800 hours in the cockpit of the most advanced air superiority fighter ever built. Now she sat in seat 23C, indistinguishable from any other passenger. The aircraft pushes back from the gate. The flight attendants begin their safety demonstration. Rebecca watches out of habit, noting the emergency exits, counting rows, calculating egress times. Old habits from years of emergency procedure training. The 777 taxis toward the runway. The captain comes on the intercom with the standard announcement. Flight time 13 hours and 20 minutes to Tokyo Narita. Cruising altitude 38,000 feet. Weather looks good. Rebecca closes her eyes as the engines spool up. The acceleration presses her back into the seat. The nose lifts. Wheels leave the ground. The city of Denver falls away below. She does not see the maintenance worker at the gate watching the plane depart. Does not see him pull out a phone and send a text message. Does not see the strange smile on his face. 2 hours into the flight, the plane is over Wyoming. Most passengers are watching movies or sleeping. The flight attendants move through the cabin with the drink cart. Anything to drink? The attendant asks Rebecca. Just water, please. Ice. Yes, thank you. The attendant hands her a plastic cup and moves on. 3 seconds of interaction. Completely forgettable. Rebecca sips the water and pulls out a paperback novel. She reads the same page 3 times without absorbing any words. Something feels wrong. She cannot identify what. just a nagging sensation in the back of her mind. The kind of feeling that kept her alive in combat when her instruments showed clear but her gut said otherwise. She glances around the cabin. Everything appears normal. Passengers reading, sleeping, watching screens. Flight attendants chatting near the galley. The steady hum of engines. Maybe she is just tense from travel. 8 months of civilian life has not completely reset her threat assessment reflexes. She forces herself to focus on the book. In the cockpit, Captain Mike Torres and First Officer Jennifer Park monitor their instruments. The autopilot guides the aircraft through clear skies. Everything looks perfect. Coffee? Park asks. Sure, Torres says. I'll take a quick break. Standard procedure. One pilot always remains at the controls while the other takes a rest break on long flights. Torres unbuckles and stands, stretching his back. All yours, he says. Park nods, hands on the yoke. Torres steps out of the cockpit into the small crew rest area just behind the flight deck. He pours coffee from the pot. Takes a sip. Sets the cup down. His hand shakes slightly. He blinks. His vision blurs at the edges. The crew rest area seems to tilt. What the? He mutters. His legs buckle. He grabs the counter but his fingers will not grip properly. The coffee cup falls, splashing hot liquid across the floor. Captain Torres collapses. In the cockpit, First Officer Park hears the crash. Mike, you okay? No response. She unbuckles quickly and turns. Through the open cockpit door, she sees Torres on the floor, convulsing. Oh my God. She lunges for the intercom. Medical emergency. I need a doctor or nurse to the flight deck immediately. She drops to her knees beside Torres. He is shaking violently, eyes rolled back, foam at the corners of his mouth. A flight attendant appears in seconds. What happened? I don't know. He just collapsed. Get the medical kit. In the cabin, passengers look up in alarm. The intercom announcement echoes through the plane. Is there a doctor on board? We have a medical emergency. Please identify yourself to the flight crew immediately. Rebecca's head snaps up. Medical emergency. Flight deck. Every nerve in her body goes on alert. A man 3 rows up stands. I'm a doctor. He rushes forward toward the cockpit. Rebecca watches him go. She sees the flight attendant's face. Sees the fear. Not good. Minutes pass. Passengers whisper nervously. Rebecca's eyes never leave the cockpit area. Another announcement. The lead flight attendant, voice carefully controlled but stressed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a medical situation with one of our pilots. Please remain calm. We are assessing the situation. Remain calm. The universal phrase that means things are not calm at all. Rebecca unbuckles her seatbelt. Where are you going? The college kid asks. Bathroom, she says. She moves forward through the cabin. Passengers watch her pass. She walks steadily, purposefully but not running, drawing no extra attention. Near the front galley, 3 flight attendants cluster together, speaking in urgent whispers. Rebecca catches fragments. Not responding. Seizure, maybe poison. Can't wake him up. Need to land. Rebecca steps closer. Excuse me. The lead flight attendant, name tag reading Sarah, turns with a forced smile. Ma'am, please return to your seat. What's wrong with the pilot? Just a medical situation. Everything is under control. Is he conscious? Sarah's smile falters. Ma'am, please? Is there another qualified pilot on this plane? We have our first officer at the controls. Now please return to your seat. Rebecca lowers her voice. How many flight hours does your first officer have? That's not your concern. It is if she's never landed a 777 without a captain. How many hours? Sarah stares at her. Who are you? Someone who can help. How many hours? A long pause. Sarah glances at the other attendants, then back to Rebecca. When she speaks again, her voice is barely a whisper. 900. This is her first year on the 777. Rebecca's jaw tightens. 900 hours is not nearly enough for what might be coming. I need to speak with her, Rebecca says. Absolutely not. Federal regulations prohibit passengers from. I know the regulations. I also know that if your captain is incapacitated and your first officer is inexperienced, you need all the help you can get. And what help could you possibly? The plane shudders. A hard jolt that makes passengers gasp. The aircraft banks sharply left, then corrects. Sarah grabs the galley counter for support. Her face goes pale. She's struggling, Rebecca says flatly. That was an overcorrection. She's stressed and making mistakes. How do you know that? Because I've flown aircraft bigger than this in combat conditions. My name is Rebecca Chin. Tell your first officer that call sign Reaper is on board and requesting permission to enter the flight deck. Sarah blinks. Call sign? You're military? Was. Air Force. Fighter pilot. 13 years. Now tell her. Sarah stares for 3 long seconds. Then she grabs the intercom phone connected to the cockpit. She speaks quickly, voice shaking. After a moment, she hangs up. She says call sign means nothing. She needs you to prove credentials. Rebecca reaches into her pocket and pulls out her wallet. She flips it open to show her military ID card. Retired status, but it clearly shows her rank, name, and service branch. Sarah's eyes widen when she sees Lieutenant Colonel. Show her this, Rebecca says. And tell her I have 2,800 hours in tactical aircraft, including emergency procedures for every scenario she's about to face. Sarah takes the ID and disappears behind the cockpit door. 30 seconds pass. They feel like 30 minutes. The door opens. Sarah's face is different now. Respectful. Almost awed. She wants you inside, Sarah says quietly. Rebecca enters the cockpit. First Officer Jennifer Park sits in the left seat, hands tight on the yoke, eyes locked on instruments. Sweat beads on her forehead. Captain Torres lies on the floor of the crew rest area, unconscious, the doctor kneeling beside him. Park glances at Rebecca. You really a fighter pilot? F-22 Raptors. Retired 8 months ago. Ever flown commercial? No. But I've flown combat missions in aircraft moving 3 times faster with half the automation. I can help you. Park's hands tremble slightly on the controls. Captain just collapsed. Doctor thinks it might be poison. Maybe something in his coffee. He's barely breathing. Are you feeling okay? Yes. I didn't drink anything. Good. What's your flight time in the 777? 900 hours. Solo command time? This is my first trip as paired first officer. I've never been alone in the left seat. Okay. First thing. Take a breath. You're tensing up. That's why you overcorrected a minute ago. Park exhales shakily. I don't know if I can land this alone. You're not alone. I'm here. Now tell me what your instruments show. Park runs through the displays. Altitude 38,000 feet. Airspeed 490 knots. Fuel 67,000 pounds. All systems green. We need to divert, Park says. Nearest major airport is Salt Lake City, about 40 minutes away. Have you declared an emergency? Not yet. I was trying to assess. Declare it now. ADC needs to know. Park nods and keys the radio. Denver Center, Trans-Pacific 447 declaring an emergency. Pilot incapacitation. Requesting immediate diversion to Salt Lake City International. The controller's voice comes back instantly, professional but urgent. Trans-Pacific 447, roger your emergency. Squawk 7700. Turn left heading 250. Descend and maintain flight level 350. We're clearing all traffic. Left 250, descending to flight level 350, Trans-Pacific 447. Park banks the aircraft and begins the descent. Her movements are stiff, uncertain. Rebecca steps closer, voice calm and steady. You're doing fine. Smooth inputs. Don't chase the needles. I'm scared, Park admits. Fear is normal. Use it. Keeps you sharp. What's your biggest concern right now? Landing. I've only done a handful of 777 landings. All with a captain. Never alone. You've done it before, which means you know the procedure. The aircraft wants to land. Your job is just to manage it. We'll talk through every step. Park glances at Rebecca. Why are you helping me? Because 247 people are counting on both of us. The doctor calls from the crew rest area. He's stabilizing, but he needs a hospital. Soon. Rebecca nods. 40 minutes to Salt Lake? Maybe less if I increase speed, Park says. No. Maintain standard approach speed. Fast landings are dangerous landings. Park swallows hard. Okay. Rebecca scans the instrument panel. The 777 cockpit is different from an F-22, but the basics are universal. Attitude, altitude, airspeed, heading. The fundamental rules of flight never change. Talk to me about the landing procedure, Rebecca says. Step by step. What's first? Park begins reciting the approach checklist from memory. Rebecca listens, occasionally interjecting with questions or clarifications. keeping Park focused, keeping her mind engaged instead of panicking. Minutes tick by. The Rocky Mountains pass beneath them. Salt Lake City appears on the horizon. Trans-Pacific 447, Salt Lake approach. We have you on radar. Vectors for ILS runway 34 left. Descend to 16,000. Descending 16,000, Trans-Pacific 447. The plane drops through the clouds. Park's hands are steadier now, more confident. You're doing great, Rebecca says. Just like the simulator. Simulator doesn't have 247 lives on board. No, but the physics are the same. The aircraft doesn't know the difference. Neither should you. Park almost smiles. You sound like my flight instructor. Good instructors all say the same things. Salt Lake City ATC guides them through the approach vectors. Other aircraft have been diverted away, giving them a clear path. Emergency vehicles are rolling toward the runway. Rebecca watches the altitude tick down. 20,000 feet. 15,000. 10,000. Landing gear down, Park says, activating the switch. 3 green lights confirm. Gear down and locked. Flaps to 5, Park continues. The wing flaps extend. The aircraft slows. Rebecca monitors every movement. Park is doing well. Better than well. She is flying the approach perfectly. Trans-Pacific 447, you are cleared to land runway 34 left. Wind 290 at 8 knots. Cleared to land 34 left, Trans-Pacific 447. 5,000 feet. 4,000. 3,000. The runway appears ahead. Long and wide and perfect. Flaps 15. Airspeed 170, Park calls out. Rebecca watches the approach angle. Looking good. Maintain glide slope. 2,000 feet. 1,000. Flaps 30. Final landing checklist complete. 500 feet. The runway rushes up to meet them. Park pulls back slightly on the yoke. The nose rises. The main landing gear kisses the runway with barely a bump. Thrust reversers, Rebecca says calmly. Park activates them. The engines roar. The massive aircraft decelerates smoothly. Beautiful landing, Rebecca says. Absolutely textbook. Park's hands are shaking now, adrenaline crashing through her system. But she keeps control, steering the aircraft off the runway onto the taxiway. Emergency vehicles swarm around them, lights flashing. We're down, Park says, voice breaking. Oh my God, we're down. You did it, Rebecca says. You saved everyone on this plane. Park turns to look at her, eyes wet. We did it. Rebecca nods. We did it. The paramedics rush aboard. They load Captain Torres onto a stretcher and carry him off. The doctor goes with them, shouting medical information. Airport security and airline officials board next. Questions fly. What happened? Is everyone safe? What's the status? Park explains while Rebecca stands quietly to the side. Just another passenger again. But Sarah, the lead flight attendant, points at Rebecca. She helped. She's military. She guided First Officer Park through the whole approach. An airline official turns to Rebecca. You're military? Retired Air Force. What did you fly? F-22 Raptors. The official's eyebrows rise. Fighter jets? And you helped land a commercial 777? First Officer Park landed the aircraft. I just talked her through it. Still, we're grateful. Can I get your information for our report? Rebecca provides her name and contact details. The official writes everything down, thanking her repeatedly. 20 minutes later, passengers are deplaning via stairs rolled up to the aircraft. They cluster on the tarmac, confused and shaken but safe. Rebecca walks down the stairs with everyone else. Just another passenger in jeans and a gray sweater. Behind her, she hears Park speaking to an airport official. I couldn't have done it without her. She kept me calm. Kept me focused. I don't even know what she was doing in seat 23C. Someone like that should be flying, not sitting in the back. Rebecca keeps walking. FBI agents are setting up in the terminal. Captain Torres was poisoned. This is now a federal investigation. They will be interviewing everyone on the flight. Rebecca finds a quiet corner and sits down. She pulls out her phone. No signal yet. She will call her family once things settle. Around her, passengers talk nervously about what happened. How scared they were. How grateful they are to be alive. Nobody mentions the woman in the gray sweater who entered the cockpit. 2 hours pass. The FBI interviews passengers in groups. Rebecca waits her turn. Finally, an agent calls her name. Rebecca Chin? She stands and follows him to a quiet office. The agent is young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes. His name tag reads Martinez. Miss Chin, I understand you were in the cockpit during the emergency? Yes. Can you explain why? I'm a retired Air Force pilot. I offered assistance. The flight crew allowed you into the cockpit? First Officer Park requested my help after I identified myself. What did you do once inside? Provided guidance during the approach and landing. First Officer Park flew the aircraft. I simply assisted with procedure. Martinez writes this down. What was your rank? Lieutenant Colonel. His pen pauses. Lieutenant Colonel? Yes. What did you fly? F-22 Raptors. Martinez stares at her. The stealth fighters? Yes. He sets down his pen. Ma'am, with all due respect, how does flying a fighter jet prepare you to help land a commercial airliner? Emergency procedures are universal. Stress management. Decision-making under pressure. The specific aircraft is less important than understanding the fundamentals. Still seems like a big leap. I have 2,800 hours of tactical flying experience. I've landed aircraft with battle damage. Failed systems. Zero visibility. Compared to those situations, landing a fully functional 777 in clear weather is straightforward. Martinez picks up his pen again. Okay. Did you notice anything suspicious during the flight? Before the captain collapsed. Rebecca thinks back. No. Everything seemed normal. Any passengers acting strangely? Not that I observed. The interview continues for 20 more minutes. Standard questions. Rebecca answers them all truthfully and concisely. Finally, Martinez thanks her. You're free to go. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. And ma'am? Thank you for what you did up there. Rebecca nods and leaves. The airline has arranged hotel rooms for all passengers. They will fly out on a different aircraft tomorrow. Rebecca checks into her room and immediately calls her sister in Tokyo. I'm fine, she says before her sister can panic. There was an incident, but everyone is safe. I'll be there tomorrow instead of today. Her sister asks a dozen questions. Rebecca answers vaguely. Just a medical emergency. Nothing to worry about. After the call, she sits on the bed and exhales slowly. She had not expected to use her training again. She had retired specifically to step away from that life. No more combat. No more tactical operations. Just a normal, quiet existence. But when the moment came, the training kicked in automatically. Like breathing. She wonders if it will ever fully leave her. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. This is Jennifer Park. The airline gave me your number. I just wanted to say thank you again. You saved my life today. And everyone else's. I'll never forget what you did. Rebecca smiles and types back. You saved everyone. You stayed calm and flew the aircraft perfectly. Be proud of yourself. She sets the phone down and lies back on the bed. Tomorrow she will fly to Tokyo. Tomorrow she will visit her family. Tomorrow she will be just another passenger again. But today for a few hours she had been something else. She closes her eyes and sleeps. Unknown to Rebecca, at Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado Springs, an Air Force intelligence officer is reviewing the passenger manifest from Trans-Pacific 447. Standard protocol following any aviation incident. His eyes stop on one name. Holy shit, he mutters. He picks up his phone and dials a number. It rings twice. Sir, this is Captain Ross at Peterson. I'm looking at the passenger list from that emergency landing in Salt Lake. You're not going to believe who was on that plane. Pause. Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Chin. Call sign Reaper. Yes sir, that Reaper. Another pause. Apparently she entered the cockpit and helped the first officer land the aircraft. No sir, I'm not joking. It's in the incident report. A longer pause. Understood sir. I'll flag it. But sir? If Reaper was on that plane, whoever poisoned that pilot is going to regret it. She doesn't lose fights. He hangs up and continues reading the report, shaking his head in disbelief. The next morning, Rebecca boards a new Trans-Pacific flight to Tokyo. Different aircraft, different crew, but same route. She finds her seat. 27A this time. Window seat. An improvement. The passenger next to her is a businessman who nods politely but says nothing. Perfect. The plane pushes back and taxis. Rebecca watches Denver disappear below as they climb into clear blue sky. She settles in with her book. Just another passenger. But 200 miles away at Buckley Space Force Base, 4 F-22 Raptors are being prepped for a routine patrol flight. In the briefing room, the flight leader addresses his pilots. Quick note before we launch. You may have heard about the commercial flight emergency yesterday. Pilot poisoning. Emergency landing in Salt Lake. Well, guess who was on that plane? The pilots look up with mild interest. The flight leader grins. Reaper. Absolute silence. Then one of the pilots speaks. Lieutenant Colonel Chin? That Reaper? The one and only. Apparently she talked the first officer through the landing. Saved 247 people. Another pilot shakes his head in awe. Of course she did. Legend, a third pilot says quietly. The flight leader nods. Damn right. Okay, let's focus. We've got our patrol route. Standard CAP over the Rockies. Weather is clear. Should be an easy day. The pilots gather their gear and head to their aircraft. 20 minutes later, 4 F-22 Raptors scream down the runway and launch into the sky, afterburners glowing. They form up in a tight diamond formation and head west. Inside the lead Raptor, the pilot levels off at 45,000 feet. His call sign is Torch. He has 1,200 hours in the F-22 and considers himself a decent pilot. But he grew up hearing stories about Reaper. The mission over Syria where she shot down 3 enemy fighters in 4 minutes. The rescue operation where she flew through a sandstorm to extract a downed pilot surrounded by hostiles. The time she landed an F-22 with half its tail blown off. Reaper was not just a pilot. She was a standard. Something to aspire to. And now she had saved another 247 people with nothing but her voice and her experience. Torch smiles inside his helmet. That's why they call her Reaper, he mutters to himself. She doesn't let anyone die on her watch. His radio crackles. Air traffic control with an update on civilian traffic in their patrol area. Buckley Flight, be advised Trans-Pacific 772 is passing through your sector, climbing to flight level 390. They're 20 miles south of your position. Torch checks his radar. Sure enough, a large commercial aircraft is climbing through 37,000 feet. Copy that, Buckley Flight has Trans-Pacific 772 on radar. He glances at the airliner on his display. Just another civilian flight. Hundreds pass through this airspace every day. But then a thought occurs to him. He switches to his squadron frequency. Hey, anyone know when Reaper was flying to Tokyo? One of his wingmen responds. I heard it was today. Why? Just curious. Torch switches back to ATC frequency. Buckley Flight lead requesting info. Trans-Pacific 772, is that the Tokyo flight? Affirmative, Buckley. Departed Denver 20 minutes ago. Tokyo Narita destination. Torch's grin widens. That is her flight. He banks his F-22 slightly to get a visual. At this distance, the commercial 777 is just a small white shape against the blue sky. But he knows she is on board. Buckley Flight, this is lead. Form up on me. We're going to do a flyby. His wingmen acknowledge and slide into close formation. 4 F-22 Raptors, the most advanced air superiority fighters in the world, position themselves parallel to the commercial airliner. Torch switches to the emergency frequency that all aircraft monitor. Trans-Pacific 772, this is United States Air Force Buckley Flight. How do you read? Inside the 777 cockpit, the captain and first officer look at each other in surprise. The captain keys his mic. Buckley Flight, Trans-Pacific 772. We read you 5 by 5. Is there a problem? Negative, Trans-Pacific. No problem. We understand you have a special passenger on board today. Special passenger? Affirmative. Lieutenant Colonel Rebecca Chin. Retired. Call sign Reaper. A long pause. Then the captain's voice, curious. Yes, she's on our manifest. She helped us with the emergency yesterday. But how do you know? Word travels fast in the Air Force Trans-Pacific. Especially when Reaper is involved. We'd like to render honors if your passenger is willing to come to a window. Render honors? It's a military tradition, sir. We'll explain to her. Can you ask her to come forward? Another pause. Stand by, Buckley Flight. Inside the cabin, Rebecca is reading her book when a flight attendant approaches. Miss Chin? Rebecca looks up. Yes. This is going to sound strange, but we have a radio call from some Air Force fighters. They're asking if you can come to a forward window. Rebecca blinks. Air Force fighters? F-22s, they said. They want to render honors. Whatever that means. Rebecca's heart skips. She unbuckles and follows the attendant forward to the first-class cabin. Several passengers watch curiously as she moves past. The attendant points to a window seat. They said they're on the left side of the aircraft. Rebecca leans to the window and looks out. Four F-22 Raptors fly in perfect formation just off their wing. Close enough that she can see the pilots in their cockpits. Her breath catches. The radio in the cockpit crackles. The pilots have patched through to the cabin PA. Lieutenant Colonel Chin, this is Captain Mark Torres, call sign Torch, leading Buckley Flight. Ma'am, on behalf of the United States Air Force, we want to thank you for your service and for your actions yesterday. You exemplify everything we strive to be as aviators and officers. Rebecca stares at the F-22s. Her throat tightens. Ma'am, it would be our honor to render a salute. If you're at a window, please acknowledge. Rebecca raises her hand to the window, palm flat against the glass. In the lead F-22, Torch sees her. Buckley Flight, salute. As one, all four F-22 pilots come to attention in their cockpits. Despite being strapped in, despite flying at 500 miles per hour, they snap into perfect military bearing. And they salute. The gesture is crisp, precise, held for 3 full seconds. Rebecca's vision blurs with tears. These pilots, younger than her, flying the same aircraft she once flew, honoring her in the way only aviators can understand. She salutes back, hand pressed against the glass. The F-22s hold formation for another moment. Then Torch's voice comes over the radio again. Ma'am, you once told a group of student pilots that the measure of a fighter pilot is not how many kills you get, but how many people you bring home safely. Yesterday you lived those words. Reaper, you are the standard. Thank you. The 4 Raptors peel away in perfect synchronization, rolling inverted as they break formation. A final flourish of respect. Then they are gone, accelerating away into the blue. Rebecca stands at the window, tears running down her face. Around her, passengers have crowded close, watching. They saw the fighters, saw the salute, but they do not understand what it means. The businessman from 27B speaks quietly. What just happened? Rebecca wipes her eyes. That was a military honor. They were saluting a veteran. But why you? She turns away from the window. Because I used to fly aircraft like those. A long time ago. You were a fighter pilot? Yes. The businessman stares at her. Then at the other passengers. Word spreads through the cabin instantly. The woman in jeans and a sweater. The one who helped yesterday. She was not just military. She was one of them. One of those pilots in the F-22s. A flight attendant asks the question everyone is thinking. What was your call sign? Rebecca hesitates. She has spent 8 months avoiding this moment. Avoiding recognition. Avoiding the weight of the name. But after what those pilots just did, she cannot hide anymore. Reaper, she says quietly. Silence. Then one of the passengers, a young man in an army uniform heading home from deployment, stands up. He comes to attention. And he salutes. Rebecca's eyes widen. You don't have to. But another passenger stands. An older man with a Navy veteran's cap. He salutes. Then another. And another. Within seconds, a dozen passengers are on their feet, hands raised in salute. Military and civilian alike. Honoring her. Rebecca stands frozen. She does not know what to do. She had wanted anonymity. Had wanted to fade into civilian life quietly. But this moment will not let her. Finally, she returns the salute. Sharp and crisp, the way she was taught at the academy 20 years ago. Thank you, she says, voice thick. But I was just doing my job. Same as all of you. The army soldier shakes his head. Ma'am, respectfully, I looked you up last night after I heard your name. What you did in Syria alone earned you that call sign. You're a legend. I'm not a legend. I'm just someone who served. With respect, ma'am, the soldier says, legends don't get to decide if they're legends. The rest of us do. Rebecca does not know how to respond to that. The passengers slowly sit back down. The moment passes, but something has changed. The way people look at her is different now. Rebecca returns to her seat. The businessman next to her is still staring. Reaper, he says. I've heard that call sign before. My brother is Air Force. He talked about you. Said you were the best pilot in the entire service. Your brother was exaggerating. He said you saved his life. He was part of a rescue mission in Afghanistan. You provided close air support, kept enemy fighters off his helicopter. Rebecca thinks back. Afghanistan. 7 years ago. A desperate extraction under fire. I remember that mission, she says quietly. He said you flew for 6 hours straight. Never left until everyone was safe. That's what fighter pilots do. That's what you do, ma'am. Rebecca does not argue anymore. She simply nods and returns to her book. But she cannot focus on the words. The hours pass. Rebecca tries to sleep but her mind keeps replaying the moment those F-22s appeared. The salute. The words from Torch. The respect in his voice. She had walked away from that world thinking it was behind her. But maybe some things never truly leave you. 6 hours into the flight, somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, the captain makes an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Anderson. I want to personally thank our passenger Rebecca Chen for her assistance yesterday and for her years of service to our country. It is an honor to have you aboard, Colonel. Applause breaks out through the cabin. Rebecca feels her face flush. She nods acknowledgement but says nothing. When the applause dies down, she closes her eyes and finally sleeps. She dreams of flying. Not the 777. Not a passenger seat. But her F-22, cutting through clouds at supersonic speed, the horizon endless ahead of her. She wakes as the plane begins its descent into Tokyo. The sun is rising over Japan, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. The landing is smooth. Perfect. The kind of landing First Officer Park will do thousands more times in her career. As passengers gather their bags, several stop to shake Rebecca's hand. To thank her. To tell her their own military stories. She accepts each with grace, though part of her still wants to just blend in and disappear. Finally, she exits the aircraft. The jetway feels longer than usual. Her legs are stiff from the flight. At the gate, her sister waits, eyes red from worry. They embrace tightly. I was so scared, her sister says. When I heard about the poisoning. I'm fine. Everyone is fine. The news said a retired pilot helped land the plane. That was you, wasn't it? I just talked the first officer through it. Her sister pulls back and looks at her. You can't help yourself, can you? Even retired, you're still saving people. Rebecca smiles. Old habits. They walk through the terminal toward baggage claim. Rebecca is exhausted. All she wants is a hot shower and 12 hours of sleep. But as they round a corner, she stops. A group of Japanese Air Self-Defense Force officers stands near the exit. 6 of them, in dress uniforms, standing at attention. Rebecca's sister gasps. What's this? The senior officer, a colonel with gray hair and rows of ribbons, steps forward. He bows deeply. Lieutenant Colonel Chin. I am Colonel Takeshi Yamamoto, Japan Air Self-Defense Force. We heard about the incident and your actions. On behalf of my service, I wish to express our gratitude and respect. Rebecca bows back, Japanese custom. Colonel Yamamoto. This is unexpected. You saved American lives using skills earned protecting freedom. That deserves recognition. He gestures to his officers. We have flown with American pilots. We train together. We know the name Reaper. It is legendary in our squadrons as well. Rebecca's throat tightens again. You honor me too much, Colonel. We honor you exactly as much as you deserve. He extends his hand. Welcome to Japan, Colonel. If you need anything during your stay, please call. He hands her a card. Thank you, sir. The Japanese officers salute in unison. Rebecca returns it. Then they turn and leave, marching in perfect formation. Rebecca's sister stares. What just happened? I honestly have no idea. Who are you? Rebecca laughs. I'm your sister. Just like always. My sister doesn't get saluted by foreign militaries. It's complicated. They collect Rebecca's bag and head outside. The Tokyo air is humid and warm. Traffic flows past in orderly chaos. Rebecca breathes deep. She is here. She is safe. The crisis is over. But something has shifted inside her. For 8 months, she tried to leave her military identity behind. Tried to be just Rebecca. Not Colonel Chin. Not Reaper. Just a civilian living a quiet life. But yesterday proved something. That identity is not something you can take off like a uniform. It is woven into who you are. How you think. How you react. She had not chosen to help. She just did it. Because that is what she was trained to do. Trained to be. Maybe retirement does not mean erasing who you were. Maybe it just means carrying it differently. Her sister hails a taxi. They climb in and head toward the city. Rebecca watches Tokyo blur past the window. Her phone buzzes. An email from the airline. They want to interview her for a company publication. Share her story. She deletes it. Another email. A news reporter requesting a statement about the emergency. Delete. Another. A military magazine wanting to feature her in an article about civilian heroes. She hesitates on that one. Then deletes it too. She does not want fame. Does not want attention. She just wants to visit her family and return to her quiet life. But as the taxi navigates through Tokyo traffic, her phone buzzes again. This time it is a text from an unknown international number. Colonel Chin, this is General David Morrison, USAF. I heard about your actions on Trans-Pacific 447. I'm not surprised. You always were the best pilot I ever commanded. I wanted to say thank you. Not just for yesterday but for everything you gave during your service. Reaper, you made us all proud. Enjoy your retirement. You earned it. Rebecca reads the message 3 times. General Morrison had been her wing commander in Afghanistan. A tough leader who rarely gave compliments. She types back. Thank you, sir. It was an honor to serve under your command. His response comes immediately. The honor was mine, Colonel. Fair winds and following seas. Rebecca puts her phone away and looks out the window. Fair winds and following seas. A Navy expression, but aviators used it too. A wish for safe travels and good fortune. She smiles. Maybe she can have both. The quiet civilian life she wants and the pride in who she was. Maybe retirement does not mean forgetting. It means remembering with peace. The taxi pulls up to her sister's apartment building. They unload and head inside. The apartment is small but comfortable. Family photos cover the walls. Rebecca drops her bag and collapses onto the couch. You look exhausted, her sister says. I am. How about I make tea and you tell me the whole story? The real story. Rebecca nods. Okay. But it's not that exciting. Her sister laughs. Fighter jets saluted you. Japanese colonels met you at the airport. I think it's exciting. Over tea, Rebecca tells her everything. The collapse of Captain Torres. Entering the cockpit. Talking First Officer Park through the landing. The F-22s appearing. The salute. Her sister listens without interrupting. When Rebecca finishes, her sister is quiet for a long moment. You know what I think? Her sister finally says. What? I think you didn't retire because you wanted to stop flying. I think you retired because you wanted to stop fighting. Rebecca considers this. Maybe. But yesterday you proved you can still fly. Still help. Still save people. Without fighting. It was just one flight. It was 247 lives. That matters. Rebecca sips her tea. I don't know what I want anymore. I thought I wanted normal. Quiet. Anonymous. Maybe you want purpose. Purpose doesn't have to mean combat. What else is there? You could teach. Train the next generation of pilots. Share what you know. I'm retired. Retired from active duty. Not retired from being Reaper. Rebecca looks at her sister. I'm not Reaper anymore. I'm just Rebecca. No, you're both. And maybe that's okay. They sit in comfortable silence, drinking tea, watching the Tokyo skyline through the window. Rebecca's phone buzzes again. Another message. This one is from First Officer Jennifer Park. Colonel Chin, I wanted you to know that I just completed my first solo landing as Captain Designate. They fast-tracked my upgrade after yesterday. My Czech airman said I flew with the confidence and precision of a veteran. I told him I learned from the best. Thank you for everything. I will carry what you taught me for the rest of my career. Rebecca reads it twice. Then she types back. Congratulations, Captain Park. You earned that upgrade. Fly safe. She sets the phone down and looks at her sister. Maybe you're right. About what? About purpose. About still having something to give. You thinking about teaching? Maybe. I don't know. I need to think about it. Her sister smiles. Take your time. You've earned that. They spend the rest of the evening talking about family, catching up on months apart. Normal conversation. Normal life. Exactly what Rebecca wanted. But in the back of her mind, a new thought is forming. What if retirement is not the end? What if it is just a different chapter? Later that night, Rebecca lies in bed, jet lag keeping her awake. She pulls out her phone and searches for civilian flight training programs. There are dozens. Some need experienced instructors. Some specifically want former military pilots to teach emergency procedures. She bookmarks a few and sets the phone aside. Tomorrow she will think about it more. Tomorrow she will decide. But tonight she just rests. Across the Pacific Ocean at Buckley Space Force Base, Captain Torch sits in the squadron-ready room. His flight suit is unzipped, a cold drink in his hand. Another pilot, call sign Demon, sits across from him. I still can't believe we flew next to Reaper today, Demon says. I know. Legendary. You think she misses it? Flying the Raptor? Torch considers. Probably. But maybe she's okay with where she is now. She's done enough. Has anyone ever done enough to walk away from this? Demon gestures around the ready room, at the walls covered with patches and photos and mission logs. She did. And she saved 247 people as a civilian. Maybe that's the point. You don't stop being who you are just because you take off the uniform. Demon nods slowly. Deep thoughts, Torch. Reaper inspires deep thoughts. They sit in silence for a moment. Then Demon speaks again. If I ever get half as good as her, I'll retire happy. Same. Torch finishes his drink and stands. All right. I'm heading home. Early brief tomorrow. See you in the morning. Torch walks out into the cool Colorado night. Above him, stars fill the sky. Clear and bright and infinite. Somewhere under those same stars, Reaper is sleeping. He smiles. Fair winds, Colonel, he says quietly to the night. Then he climbs into his truck and drives home. Back in Tokyo, Rebecca's dreams are peaceful. No nightmares. No replays of combat missions. Just the gentle sensation of flight. Of sky. Of freedom. When she wakes the next morning, the sun is streaming through the window. Her sister has made breakfast. The apartment smells like rice and miso soup. Rebecca joins her at the small table. Sleep okay? Her sister asks. Better than I have in months. Good. So what do you want to do today? Tourist stuff? Shopping? We could visit the temple. Rebecca thinks. Actually, there's something I want to do first. What? I want to visit Yokota Air Base. See if they'll let me take a tour. Her sister raises an eyebrow. Really? Yeah. I think I need to see it. Remember what it was like. Okay. I'll drive you. They finish breakfast and head out. Yokota Air Base is about an hour from Tokyo. Home to U.S. Air Force operations in Japan. At the gate, Rebecca shows her retired military ID. The guard checks it and waves them through. Welcome to Yokota, Colonel. They park and walk toward the flight line. In the distance, C-130 transport planes are visible. F-16 fighters from the deployed squadron sit under shelters. Rebecca stands at the fence watching operations. Ground crews work on aircraft. Pilots walk toward the flight line in full gear. It all feels familiar. Comfortable. Like coming home. A voice behind her. Can I help you, ma'am? She turns. A young airman stands there, polite and professional. Just watching, Rebecca says. Are you stationed here? No. Just visiting. I'm retired. Oh. What did you do? I flew F-22s. The airman's eyes widen. Raptors? Seriously? Seriously. That's amazing. I'm aircraft maintenance. I work on the F-16s. But Raptors are like the dream. Rebecca smiles. They're incredible aircraft. Did you ever fly combat? Yes. Where? Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, few other places. The airman looks at her with open admiration. Man, that's awesome. I wish I could fly. Why don't you? I don't have a degree. And I'm not officer material. Who told you that? I don't know. Just figured. Rebecca looks at him. If you want to fly, you find a way. Take classes. Apply for OTS. Work toward it. Don't let anyone tell you what you're capable of. The airman straightens a little. Yes, ma'am. What's your name? Airman First Class Rodriguez, ma'am. Rodriguez, you're young. You have time. If you want it badly enough, you'll make it happen. He smiles. Thank you, ma'am. I'll remember that. He salutes and walks away. Rebecca's sister nudges her. See? You're already teaching. Rebecca watches the airman disappear toward the flight line. Maybe. They spend another hour at Yokota watching operations, soaking in the atmosphere. When they finally leave, Rebecca feels different. Lighter. More settled. On the drive back to Tokyo, her sister glances over. You okay? Yeah. I think I am. You going to look into those teaching programs? I think so. Not full-time. Maybe part-time. Consulting. Guest instructor. Something like that. Sounds perfect. We'll see. They spend the rest of Rebecca's visit doing tourist activities. Temples. Museums. Shopping districts. Normal vacation things. But in the evenings, Rebecca works on her laptop. Researching programs. Reaching out to contacts. Exploring options. By the time she boards her flight back to the United States 2 weeks later, she has 3 interviews scheduled. 2 with civilian flight schools, 1 with an Air Force Reserve training program. The flight home is uneventful. No emergencies. No drama. Just a long, boring flight across the Pacific. Exactly what she wants. When she lands in Los Angeles, she collects her bag and heads to the exit. At the curb, her phone buzzes. An email from Jennifer Park. Colonel, I wanted you to know that Trans-Pacific Airlines is creating a new safety training program. They want to bring in experienced pilots to train flight crews on emergency procedures. They asked if I knew anyone qualified. I gave them your name. I hope that's okay. You would be perfect for this. Rebecca reads the email standing on the sidewalk, travelers flowing around her. She types back. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll reach out to them. Then she adds, and congratulations again on your promotion. You're going to be a great captain. She hits send and climbs into a taxi. As Los Angeles traffic crawls past, Rebecca thinks about the last 2 weeks. The emergency. The F-22 salute. The Japanese officers. The conversations with her sister. The visit to Yokota. All of it pointing in one direction. Forward. Not back into uniform. Not back into combat. But forward into something new. Something that uses who she is without requiring her to fight. Maybe this is what retirement really means. Not stopping. Just redirecting. The taxi pulls up to her apartment. She pays and heads inside. Her place is exactly as she left it. Clean. Quiet. A little lonely. She drops her bag and makes coffee. Then she opens her laptop and starts writing emails. To the flight schools. To the Air Force Reserve. To Trans-Pacific Airlines. She introduces herself. Lists her qualifications. Expresses her interest in teaching. Then she hits send and closes the laptop. Whatever happens next, she is ready. 3 months later, Rebecca stands in front of a classroom at a civilian flight academy in Arizona. 20 students sit before her. Young pilots. Aspiring aviators. Hungry to learn. Good morning, she says. My name is Rebecca Chin. I'm a retired Air Force pilot. For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to teach you emergency procedures. Not the textbook stuff. The real stuff. The things that save lives when everything goes wrong. The students lean forward, attentive. First thing you need to understand, Rebecca continues. Aircraft want to fly. Your job is not to fight them. Your job is to manage them. Trust your training. Trust your instincts. And never, ever panic. A student raises a hand. What's the scariest emergency you ever faced? Rebecca thinks. I once had to land an F-22 with battle damage. Half my tail was gone. Hydraulics failing. No ejection seat because we were over enemy territory. That was scary. What did you do? I flew the aircraft. Assessed the damage. Made a plan. Executed it. And I landed safely. How did you stay calm? Because panic kills. Calm thinking saves lives. That's what I'm here to teach you. She spends the next hour walking them through scenarios. Engine failures. System malfunctions. Weather emergencies. The students soak it up like sponges. At the end of class, several approach her with questions. One young woman, maybe 25, hangs back until the others leave. Yes. Rebecca asks. Ma'am, I just wanted to say, I looked you up. Your service record. What you did. You're the reason I wanted to be a pilot. Rebecca blinks. Me? Yes, ma'am. I'm Air Force ROTC. I want to fly fighters. And when I heard you were teaching this course, I had to take it. What's your name? Cadet Emily Watson. Well, Cadet Watson, I'm glad you're here. Keep working hard. You'll get your wings. I hope so, ma'am. And I hope I can be half the pilot you are. Rebecca smiles. You'll be better. That's the whole point of teaching. Every generation improves on the last. Emily salutes. Rebecca returns it. After she leaves, Rebecca gathers her materials and heads to her car. The Arizona sun is brutal, but she does not mind. She feels good. Useful. Purposeful. Her phone rings. Caller ID shows Park Jennifer. Rebecca answers. Hey Jennifer. How are you? Great. I just finished my first international flight as captain. London to LAX. Smooth as silk. Congratulations. I knew you'd do great. Thanks. Hey, I wanted to tell you something. Remember that training program Trans-Pacific started? The one they asked me about? Yeah. They want you to head it. Full-time position. Designing curriculum, training instructors, teaching advanced emergency procedures to all their pilots. They're offering serious money. Rebecca pauses. Full-time? Yeah. Based out of their headquarters in San Francisco. You'd report directly to the chief pilot. It's a big deal, Rebecca. They want the best, and that's you. Rebecca sits in her car, engine off, Arizona heat building. Full-time. A real job. A real career. Not just consulting or part-time teaching. A way to use everything she learned. Everything she is. Without having to fight anymore. Can I think about it? She asks. Of course. But don't think too long. They want to fill the position soon. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Thank you, Rebecca. For everything. They hang up. Rebecca sits in silence, thinking. San Francisco. Full-time training position. Teaching pilots to handle the worst moments of their careers. Saving lives. Just in a different way. She starts the car and drives back to her hotel. That night, she calls her sister in Tokyo. They offered me a job, Rebecca says. The airline? Yeah. Full-time. Heading their new training program. That's amazing. Are you going to take it? I think so. It feels right. It sounds perfect for you. Yeah. It does. They talk for another hour about logistics and plans in the future. When Rebecca hangs up, she feels settled. Certain. This is the next chapter. She opens her email and writes to Trans-Pacific Airlines. I accept your offer. When do I start? The response comes within an hour. Welcome aboard, Colonel Chin. We're honored to have you. Report date is in 30 days. We'll send details shortly. Rebecca closes her laptop and looks out the hotel window at the Arizona desert. Somewhere out there, young pilots are learning to fly, making mistakes, taking risks, pushing limits, and soon she will be there to teach them, to guide them, to make sure they come home safely, just like she always did. She thinks about the F-22 pilots who saluted her, about Jennifer Park, about Airman Rodriguez at Yokota, about Cadet Watson in her class, all of them connected, all of them part of something larger, the tradition of aviators, the commitment to excellence, the promise to bring everyone home. She had carried that promise for 13 years in uniform. Now she will carry it for however many years she has left. Different aircraft, different mission, same promise. Rebecca Chin closes her eyes and smiles. Reaper is not retired. Reaper is just flying a different mission now. And this mission might be the most important one yet.